Hello? Oh, the camera gone?
I know, it was so funny for a sec. I was gonna mention it, but you just freeze framed like the
Wait,
funniest
wait, wait.
frame. I always wondered, what do people think Jeremy meant?
So he just told me that G means Joss, and I was like, "What does Abi mean?" I was like, "Rigid bodies." Joss
Rigid
rigid
body?
body.
Joshua Rigid Body? That's
Hey,
kind of a
hey.
fire name. I'm gonna name my kid that. Well,
Are you already recording?
I've been, yeah. I've been since
Oh,
I had it
okay.
set up. Welcome back to the Third Party Podcast, where we are your third party opinions. I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back. I'm going to keep this going. Where we are your third party opinions for film, animation, and just general talking shit. I'm with Alex on this side,
Yo.
and I'm Josh, and we have a guest today, Xapo.
Yeah.
Yay. Let's go.
Xapo, how about I guess before we get started, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Just
So
in basic terms or whatever way you want to go about it.
Yeah.
so my social handle goes by the name Xapo, but actually my real name is Chaitanya, and I'm from India.
Ooh,
And I've been editing for like 4 years now, and recently got into 3D.
Hell yeah.
let's
You know,
go.
it's funny because like like pretty much quite similar in terms of like how long we've been doing this as Zappa. But when it comes to you, Josh, you've been doing this for like probably like double-ish, right? Like
And,
you've been editing way back then
yeah,
during the
probably
prime editing
double.
days and stuff.
Maybe. I'll
Almost
wait. Are we
like I don't.
considering like AMVs or like serious
Yeah, yeah,
editing?
yeah.
Okay, then yeah,
Basically,
like
I
like
then
mean, it's
double.
kind of considered. Yeah,
I was gonna
double
say,
basically.
yeah,
go
I
Oh,
ahead.
got
in
I
terms
got
of
I got to know about Josh through Gabe. I hope you know him.
Through
Gabe,
Agasar,
Gabe, the one guy who used to edit videos for what
Jimmy.
was his name? The guy with a
is
anime
isn't
YouTube channel. What's his name?
Yeah, Jimmy Zhang.
isn't
Jimmy Zhang. Yeah,
Yeah. Wait, that's
isn't
funny. I
this
didn't. I didn't
the
know. We met or we
yeah.
talked more because of Gabe. Was that because?
is
hmm
Did
this
you
this
work on the Yu-Gi-Oh project with me?
No, actually, Gabe reached out to me for a commission, but we couldn't agree on the price, so
Ah,
I just left it.
okay.
oh, this is a different game
And
then
No, it's
because
just.
the game I'm thinking of is like a 3D artist like studying in like Ringling College or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that, and he's like I think it's a different game because the Gabe I know is an artist who's studying. I don't know about like a client named Gabe.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah. Gabe's the one that's like Jimmy's right hand guy that does all the filming and editing,
yeah,
like normal
oh, I
editing.
don't know.
I should
I
say,
haven't
not
met the
VFX,
guy.
but
No. Yeah. Yeah. So since we got to the topic of like the number of lens, like how before we get to everyone, like Zappa, how did you eventually like how did you like get into like AMVs, and then what made you got what caught your interest to like join like the
yeah.
3D design or motion design
hmm
specifically, and why you're doing this, and do you plan to have it do it long term, or do you have other interests as well, all that kind of stuff.
yeah. Is it a hobby? Is it? I don't know.
A hobby, a job, both maybe,
Yeah, I mean,
like
it started as a hobby, but now I want to pursue it full time. So,
hell yeah.
I started with making lyric videos first. I had a YouTube channel called Lyric Panda. No one knows about it. I guess my friends know about it only. So I used to
I'm about to look
make
that up
like
after.
those lyric videos on. I used to like edit them on Camtasia and Zoom Vegas back then.
Oh
Yeah.
damn.
And then I saw this really cool edit by Photoshop. Like those vibe edits that people used to make, the editors, the
Yeah.
Pixar edits
Yeah.
with a really nice song and that CC, all that shit.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
Uh,
CC, the overlay, and
Oh god.
yeah.
I when you said vibe edit, I immediately thought of like one of those old YouTube videos. Do you know the ones with like The Simpsons and it's just slightly edited and it's just one clip? and they replay it with like lo-fi music in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's an editor like Scout. Do you know him or not? Yeah,
Scott.
he edits a lot of those like cartoons and all.
Yeah,
Mm.
like Adventure Time,
Mm-hmm.
Gumball. You know
SpongeBob.
Scott, right, Josh? Yeah, SpongeBob.
Scott?
Scout. The edit Scout.
Scout.
Scout with
Scout.
a six.
Scout. Yeah, with the 6, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean,
I'm
for me, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I remember seeing his edits like a while ago, right? And then like, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you see his
Man,
edits, like, wow, how do you make this kind of stuff? And like
he's
after
got
like,
a million subs on his YouTube channel.
yeah, and he makes those vibe edits, but they're like
Yeah.
enjoyable to watch, I guess.
Yep. So I came across this edit from Photoshop. I have it saved. Just
Photoshop.
share you
Oh my
the
God, that's sorry,
Photoshop.
that's
Yeah,
like
I
a
think he quit editing. Do you know him?
yeah. I very much like quit. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he'll come back. I don't know. He's like
So
yeah.
yeah,
Eh,
go on.
Sorry, there is one editor that also like left that everyone knew about. I can't get his
Travis,
no,
travesty.
travesty, not travesty. It was you know
Oh my god. Yo, wait, did you say travesty?
yeah.
Yep.
You
Oh
know
my god, bro. I used to
Utsu.
talk to him all the time. I miss
he's one
talking
of
to him.
like the one of the editors that I looked up to like wow, this is like really cool kind of stuff, you know. We never talk,
Yep.
but you know,
I miss
we
that.
acknowledge
We
each other's existence.
yeah, no, cuz I talked to him a lot back in the day, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things cuz this happens a lot with just editors. You talk for like a year and then it'll just kind of
Yeah,
like
just
everyone just
die
kind of
off.
starts doing whatever. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Like.
I still talk to whoever. I mean, I only like jump in if there's like, let's say I look at their story and it's like an old editor, and I always like say what's up or something like that. If there is
Yeah.
anything for me to say, otherwise I don't really say anything. Uh, yeah, but like for example, if I look at like let's say like for example, I'll see like this guy's story. Recently, Xapo, you showed you
Studio
showed on your
Trended
story
and
the
Future
future
Deluxe. Yeah,
deluxe.
yeah,
That was like, oh my god, dude. It makes you like, tingle a bit. It's like this is like a really like overpowered duo, and like
exactly.
I'm sure Josh you don't know about it, but like
No, I don't.
it's basically like two of like the one of the top motion design studios on earth. 3D
Studios.
motion design studios, and they're like collaborating or something.
Oh damn.
That's something I would say, but if I see something like um this editor talking about One Piece, I don't know what to say because like I don't watch the anime, so I have nothing to say or anything like that. But I sometimes would say like, oh, hi or whatever. But yeah, I get what you mean by editors, and a lot of the editors I used to talk to 2 3 years ago, maybe like 25%. I still talk to them. The other 75 are just maybe like they're like gone or just like
Yeah.
dealing with life or whatever.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
most of
a lot of people that I used to know have just like quit editing.
yeah,
yeah, most people just
for the
quit.
better, to be honest. And I think
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
to an extent it's a good thing because it's like super toxic
We all
and
have
everything.
like different stuff to do to
Yeah,
focus
Different
on.
I
stuff
mean,
to do and hobbies
most
and
people, yeah, most people only did it as a hobby, obviously. I mean, like,
yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
AMV editing. It's kind of hard to see that, especially when we started as a job. But
Yeah.
nowadays, people be getting commissions off that through whatever means. And some people are
But
making, like,
people who
legit.
are accepting commissions who do AMVs, they're basically like the ones who do like lyric videos and motion design. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
separate from like the normal AMV thing.
Yeah.
Like if you have like a flow editor, like what would you hire him to do? As an example, maybe someone would find a use for him. But if Nanaki, right? AZ,
Yep.
motion designer, right? And he used to do
The
like a bunch of
typography
AMVs.
guy.
Yeah, and now he just does a bunch of typography and motion design stuff. He always posts like fundamental concepts and all
Mm-hmm.
these different tips and tricks and design theory and all of that stuff. So that's one. You have Limpzu. You guys know Limpzu,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now
Yep,
named
yep.
Monday. I don't know how to
Mondo
pronounce
Ode.
it. Mondo. But he's now working well on a paid internship right now.
Mm-hmm.
Doing
Oh, have
motion
you talked to
design.
him?
I talked to him a few times. He actually even DM'd me once for I think like a freelance advice because I think it was getting into like his first client.
Yeah.
But yeah, I talk to him whenever, and I like his work, and yeah, glad he likes mine. He was one of like my favorite editors back in the day. Still is. I mean, not an editor now. He's like 3D artist, but back in the day, he was like one of the most like. I say he's the one. Limzo was the one that got me into the creative side of
Yeah.
anime editing, right? But I can talk about like all of that. But like Josh, like, how did you get into like editing, and then all the way from like up
Oh
to this
God.
point? You can
I feel
include
like
like,
my explanation's a lot longer.
yeah, then
Um,
do it. It'll be great,
do
Yeah.
you,
Go on.
great insight.
uh, how about Alex? You go first. I'll come back because it does go back to like when I'm like basically 5 years
Oh, all
old.
right.
So
Oh,
it's sort of a longer story.
long story. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like how I've started was like I remember it actually wasn't anime editing that first started it all. It was just like general like editing of just uh so I'm just like scrolling on Instagram before my my Instagram account became like an anime editing account until 3D. It was actually like account where I just post just shit post memes and stuff. It wasn't really for anyone. I just like to post that stuff for myself. And eventually there were like these edits that come on my recommended sorry, not my recommended, my explore page. And I'll see like these like edits, right? They were just like those like celebrity edits like Ariana Grande or whoever the hell these celebrities are. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
like this is not really like my kind of thing, like, but it looks cool. So I tried doing what they did, but slapping memes on it. It obviously didn't do very well because it's like a first edit. It looked
No, I
terrible.
know. Is it one of those ones where they put their picture on a cube and they spit it?
Yeah, exactly. I had like the SpongeBob cube and then like a pyramid Obama or something like
Yeah,
that. And he's like,
and then stars popping out and
yeah,
whatnot, all
yeah.
the
And I
overlays.
thought at the time I thought like this is the coolest thing ever. I knew I was like, it's not amazing, but it's cool that I can do this. And then when I discovered like the first animated I saw, like on Instagram, like I knew about the edits that are just cuts, but I didn't know about the ones with the cool transition. It was like
Mm.
a phone edit, right? And this guy, his name was back in the day, his name was Spume. It's like Zpume, and he made these like like these mobile phone edits, and they had these really cool transitions and effects and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, this edit looks really nice. And actually, I still have it saved. And then when I looked at the comments, everyone is saying like, oh, what program did you use to make this? It's like Video Star, and I made this on my phone. And that really like inspired me. I'm like, wow, like you can make this on your phone. So I got it on like the iPad, and then I made like my first AMV, right? And then from there on, I started like making anime edits, and then I got into like editing groups. I heard about all that kind of thing. Eventually, I hear about stuff like After Effects and all these programs. And when I got into my first anime editing group, I was already like learning After Effects, right? And eventually, I found like my style. So I was like a Hyuka edit, and then I have this thing where I make like these like waves and put like a gradient on it. You know what I mean?
which I had copied in one of my edits.
Oh man, but like, damn. And then
Man, I
the
I used
people,
to look up to your edits, man.
damn, that's that's really appreciated. So basically from there, I met a guy in this group, and I was editing by the time. His name was Citrix. You know Citrix, Zapo?
Yup,
By
yup, yup,
Yeah,
yup.
I
Citrix?
know Citrix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is the one who told me about Cinema 4D, Octane, Blender, Houdini, Reg. He told me X particles. He told me everything about that, and I still wasn't really into it, right? But I was still editing. I still liked editing. Eventually, I went just full on After Effects because that was a lot more convenient for me. When COVID hit, I had a ton of free time on my hand. So because Citrix things look super cool. They had all these like 3D
Mhm.
stuff and I only knew Trap Code and Element 3D back then, right? And there was a point where Element 3D started feeling a bit. He told me about Element 3D. No, sorry, Cinema 4D and all of that kind of stuff. And I only knew Element 3D and Trapcode by the time, but because his stuff looked really cool, like the Element 3D, sorry, the Cinema 4D like renders he made and stuff like that. And he said like, oh, he actually like modeled these like small sections. It was like pillars and it's like a simple like window and everything like that. But it was like really cool that he got to make like his own world. So because of COVID, I had like a bunch of time. So I was just like, out of curiosity, I was just like, let me learn Cinema 4D. If I don't like it, you know, I'll just leave. But I ended up really like liking it. So then I really like started like learning, and it became to a point where it's like an addiction that I wanted to learn how to do everything because it was so cool, and I was like, I want to know everything. I was just curious about the how does 3D like work and everything like that. And eventually, I ended up really like liking it, and it like caught my interest. And then I started like learning about the different things and all the fundamental stuff. And then I made like my first commercial, like a fan made commercial basically, and it was like a Nike Air Jordan thing, because I had a thing for, well, I'm a kind of like a shoe person, right? And I found this model of an Air Jordan, and I thought like it would be cool to like animate and like make a commercial out of it or something. So I did that, and people like really liked it. And I figured out like, yeah, I think I want to do this as like a full time thing. So I really started getting into it. But then I realized like, what if I couldn't find a certain asset? Like I want to learn how to model, and that's when I got into Blender because Citrix also told me about Blender. So I learned Blender, learned how to like render, animate texture, and main also for the main part model stuff. And so when I learned how to model on Blender, then I made like the second commercial, which was like Bose headphones. And then I decided, yeah, I'm gonna, I want to do this. Like I was 100% sure I wanted to do this. And then eventually, after a few months, I ended up getting like an internship because a company saw my portfolio, and they wanted to hire me for like a month, and because they saw like potential. That's what they said, and I eventually, from there on, it just basically jump started my career in a sense, and then I started doing like more freelance and all of that stuff, and getting more clients, and eventually it ended up to be having um, I know all these clients that that I've worked on up to this point, and after like a year from that internship, started doing more projects, more R&D, diving into more software. And it's definitely like at the point where there's not really like there's like no turning back. Like I'm already like secured there. There are people who know what I do, and I have like a sort of like reputation and connections where people would need my skills and make use of it. And and it's like worked out pretty okay so far, and I've like learned a lot. And then yeah, now I'm here. Now, if that wasn't long, right, Josh? If that wasn't long, I don't know like how
I
how how
I
long
mean
it would be for you.
I'll try to keep it short, but it is kinda long. And when you mentioned, what is it? Um, like what was the last thing you just mentioned with being like I'm all in sort of thing.
Yeah.
For you saying that, I
So
feel
yeah,
like
it's like you're committed to the work that you are like
Yeah, yeah,
directly
yeah.
doing.
I was so committed. I was like dedicated is the word.
Yeah.
When you get that, like when you edit something and you're just like so dedicated because you're like enjoying
Hmm.
it. That's what I felt when I did like when I got into anime editing in 3D. It was like like it felt like I really wanted to do this, and it paid off quite
yeah,
well.
I
I'm
feel
still
like
learning, by the way. This it's like
I had that feeling of being too committed basically at the start of high school for me. So that's crazy. Um,
yeah.
fuck. All right. How do I start? So you guys know how you guys. So it all started. All right. With you guys know. Obviously, I know Alex knows it, but like Freddie W, Quarter Digital,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Film
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Riot,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We I
Indie
mean,
Mogul, all
yeah, I
those
mean,
four.
it's like they're like the godfather of like internet VFX kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
The godfathers, basically. They're
yeah.
like Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. But it was those two, Filmrai and Indie Mogul, because Filmrai and Indie Mogul basically taught you indie visual effects, but not visual effects like special effects like IRL ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with a lot of that at like 2010, 2011. So I mean that was when I was 10 or 11. But from there, I knew it was something that I wanted to do, so I constantly made films growing up. Like my whole thing was like I want to be like them. I want to be like Freddie W. Very
Mm-hmm.
specifically, I wanted to be like Freddie W. Since I
Mm-hmm.
was a kid. So going from that, which was just like a lot of real life filming and like trying to do practical effects. Like I remember I tried to do like an explosion in my backyard with like an air compressor and like powder, and I had like my I had my mom or like my dad film me running in slow mo because I had like a camera that could kind of do slow mo. So I'm like running in like 360p while an explosion goes off in the background, and it's like the most baby explosion of all
Hell
time.
yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, I basically started with that in terms of like where the need to do like video or VFX in that sort of realm, because I knew I wanted to do VFX. I was actually watching like Freddie W's muzzle flash tutorials, all their After Effects tutorials that they had posted on YouTube at the time. I had
they have
watched all
tutorials
of.
on that,
They
like
did
how to
back in the
do.
day. Back in the day, they had a lot of tutorials. So I
I saw because
watched them, and I just watched them. I didn't have the software. I would watch them every day. I was like, I want to do this so bad. And then I
yeah.
think I never had After Effects for like years, but I was watching these, and um basically around, skip a few years to like 8th or 7th grade middle school. um by the way, I don't know where the schooling system works where you guys are in terms of like elementary school, middle school, high school, university.
I
Does it work like that?
uh,
No, we
kind.
have like standards. So there's first standard to 12th standard is like what you call elementary and high school. So it's all combined in a single
Yeah,
class.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
So
okay.
Here it's similar as well. It's like from first to like maybe fourth, fifth. It's like maybe
Yeah,
elementary-ish, and
that's
then
elementary for
six
me.
to seven to eight is like middle, then
Middle.
9 to like 11 is high school or whatever.
Okay.
Then you got like you leave, and then
Okay, well that's
that's
that's kind of basically how mine works. But basically in like 8th or 7th grade, when I was in very specifically middle school, I had a friend that was down my street who was really into anime, and I was friends with this kid for like, he was like my homie. He would come over every 2 seconds and just sleep there. Like he was basically my brother. He would just stay at my house all the time. And I remember he showed me AMVs on YouTube, like very specifically YouTube AMVs at the time.
um
So like they weren't like crazy edits. They were literally just cutting clips.
yeah, those AMVs I know about those ones way back before, but
Yeah, and I have one that I've actually saved because it was the AMV that got me
got
into
you.
them,
Yeah,
and I can send it into the Discord later. It's not that important right now. But I was watching those. Eventually, I got into AMVs because of that, and I got addicted to the point where all of 8th grade and freshman year, there was this one kid in class who every single day I would come into class and I would show him a new AMV that I made,
yeah.
and they were all on my Instagram. This is like I have every edit from that period of like 8th grade to
Yeah.
now on my Instagram.
Sorry, just sorry to interrupt, but I
No, you're
actually
good.
do have like there is always like one person or one classmate that I always like shown my AMV. I'll be like, give me feedback. What do you think? I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you had that Xapo, but I had like this one guy. I'm like, what do you think of this? And he's like, yeah. It's like you
I
do, and
think I think
then
we all have a similar story in that way. Like we
yeah,
all
yeah. There's
just
always like yeah,
inspired by one single edit that just started it all.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then I'm not sure because like for me, there's always like I think everyone
Yeah.
has like at least one person that they show their work through. But right now it's just like people online. But always
Yeah.
used to be like my classmate and then also my brother. Where I'll be like, look at this.
Now
And
it's
it's
my
like,
mom. I'll just be like, I remember when I finished the Edge Runners intro, I was like, hey, do you remember when we watched Cyberpunk together? She's like, yeah. I was like, come here, and then I showed her the intro. She was like, what the fuck? You made the intro. I was like, damn.
You
She
made this? You?
she's like, you made
Oh
this.
my god, that's so sick.
yeah.
Um,
My parents know what I do, but like it's just like they've seen my work and they're just like good. But they'll because I've showed them like my work, they know like the standard that I have right now. So they'll know if something is off or not.
Oh, and they'll actually judge it. My mom doesn't judge shit.
Yeah. No. My parents will give feedback in a more like audience, like what they think, not as like not them thinking like if they were an artist, but like
Or like
for
thinking
example, they'll
as
be like,
it
oh, why don't
like
you do
it's
this
just my
thing or why
kid.
don't you do that? Just casually kind of thing.
Yeah, my mom doesn't do that. She's like, you're my son. Oh my god, look at the thing you made.
Yeah.
So
No,
cool.
I do have honest parents.
Yeah,
They're not
I
like
don't. This
they'll
is why.
they
This is why I send it. This is why I send it to like people like y'all, because I
yeah,
actually
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
feedback.
I'll be
Um,
honest. I'll actually make it like not just like advice, but an issue to Josh. I'll be like, actually, I think you should
you
change
gotta
this.
change
I,
the shapes on
I
the Edge
think
Runners intro. It's too similar.
it, it's too similar. Make it unique.
It was
Yeah,
ingrained in
that's
my head.
that's just me. But like, I mean,
No, I get
I'm
it.
like, I don't want to be too hard. I mean, I want to be
No, I
honest,
do
but too
not
hard.
care.
But I'll always have the point where just like, you got to do this thing, got to do that.
Yeah, I'll just
But
be annoyed at
it's your
you for.
project.
I'll be annoyed at you for a second, and then it's okay.
Yeah. And then I'll be like, giving all these like feedback, and at the end of every sentence will be like, but it's your project. You do what you want, but that's my
I love
advice.
that
I'm
butt
speaking
because
for.
he's like really change this shit
It's,
right now, but it's okay if you don't.
It's
Or
okay. It's okay.
fucking change it. Or
Keep it. Keep it
fucking
as
change it.
yourself. It's
Change
it's
it.
your it's your
it's
project.
like it's like his own way to cover up.
Yeah, it's like I'll be harsh, but just to balance it out, I'll put that
Hmm.
it's your project. You can do what you want, but preferably in my opinion, I would do it this way.
Yeah.
But you know, I still do that by the way.
No, that's
Especially with
understandable.
some clients, they'll be like, with some clients, it's a good thing. Like the client is, you do what they want, but it also helps to give your opinion. So I'll be like, I think you should do this thing. I
Yeah.
think it also makes more sense. But again, it's your project. I'll if you want this, I'll do it. But I prefer it if it were this way. And I try to convince, like, I think this looks better.
I
But
actually I did that with a client at one point. I'll continue the backstory in a sec, but the when I was working on the Yu-Gi-Oh project with Jimmy,
Mhm.
that like big ass thing. So he hired me, and I gave him this test footage that I did with my friend Nate, who was roommating with me here.
Yeah.
He originally everything was going to be like 2D cards and just 2D monsters kind of there ominously. Like it was just going to be all 2D assets like After Effects work. And then I think I made the suggestion that I was like, hey, it's going to be a lot easier to work on this because the composition and stuff is just impossible with some of the 2D cards.
Mhm.
So I had mentioned that everything should be 3D, or some of them should be 3D, and then it eventually turned into them all being 3D. And that was my first technical 3D project ever that I ever worked on, which kind of goes into the backstory thing. But yeah, I got into AMVs. Eventually, I was making a lot of them. I think I won a contest. I got in like third place for like just a basic cutting animation. And I got
Wow.
like third place on it from like some AMV website called AMV Cloud, I think.
That's cool.
AMVcloud.com. And I won. It was like one of my first few AMVs. I think it was like Warriors, which is on my YouTube channel.
Damn.
And basically, after I won that, I was like, I see something here. Because I already knew I wanted to do film and stuff, but I didn't know where in film. If it was going to be directing, filmmaking, acting, writing, or whatever have you. I just knew I wanted to do it. And then I was like,
Yeah.
maybe editing.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I didn't make it. I had a friend named Gluma who on Instagram, which you guys wouldn't know him, but he wanted to make an editing group with me called Moon, which had Costa.e, my friend Kurt, who we're gonna eventually have on here.
You had Costa?
Yeah, we had Costa before, like when he first started After Effects, because this goes into my story of how I got After Effects through him. He sent me it after like a year or two of like just using Power Director. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I have like a, one of those things that I can send you so you can get After Effects, maybe for free, maybe for not." so he sent it to me, and I remember being so happy, and I think I thanked him on like 10 posts after that. Like every edit I made after that, I was like, thanks, 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 thanks.
No, I mean it's like because you see all these like cool edits and after edits and just cool stuff, but once you finally have it, you just feel like I have the power now, to do
Yeah,
what I want. It's
exactly.
like, yeah.
Unlimited power.
Yeah,
Unlimited
I felt the
power.
same way when I got After Effects and Trap Code and X particles. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have so much fun with this. The amount of things that I can do now, it's at the point where, uh, whatever I want to make is basically limited, to like my creativity and if I'm lazy or not.
Yeah.
Basically, like,
For
yeah,
me,
I
it's
don't
the
feel.
laziness.
Yeah, I mean, same with me, but I feel like any like it's gotten to a point for me where it's like I don't really have any way to I don't really have any like at least for what I'm doing, I don't really have any barriers regarding like the technical stuff because I have access to all the tools that I need, right? Whether it's like cloth or simulation or modeling. If there's a character, I mean that's one that I am not able to do at the moment. Any like character creation and all of that stuff, but everything else I'm pretty much like set. But
Yeah.
like back then,
Bro,
like
After
when
Effects just
you
hit different having that. Mm.
yeah, but
Especially
back
the
then
first time.
back then when I used Element 3D, I'm not sure if you felt the same way, but to a certain point, especially with Trapcode, I felt like you wish you could do more because it's not real 3D, it's like 2.5D when you work in After Effects.
Yeah.
But when you get like proper 3D program or whatever it is you need, like or if you want to do like anime or whatever, like After Effects, you need more, you need like other programs as well. So once you start like broadening your horizons with other programs,
Yeah.
and then you start to see like you can do a lot more, and it's best when it's like the only limit is your like
Your
your
imagination.
ideas and stuff
Imagination.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm.
now it's like we were like me making a project, I have these softwares and they're sitting there is like you have no excuse to not make a project, you're just being lazy, work on something right now because you paid for me, use me. That's basically like Cinema 4D, Embergen, World Creator,
Mhm.
Redshift X, that's how everything is.
Yeah.
uh so yeah,
But
so
all right,
yeah.
going back, I got After Effects, right? And as I told you before, I was watching a lot of tutorials without having the program. So when I picked it up, I already knew the whole layout. I knew all the effects. I knew how to mask stuff. I knew how to add text. I knew how to 3D track. I knew how to motion track, which were the main things because of Freddie W workflow. So I knew how to do all that. So I think like immediately it was from there I was more interested in plugins, like right off the bat, like getting
Yeah,
Twixter, Twitch.
Trickster.
Um fuck. There's a guy that I remember was like the Twixter god of YouTube. Where it's like
um
Nomius, it starts with an N or something. He did like this really long like Evangelion edit. And
oh yes, didn't that win like awards and stuff? I know,
I
have you
think
seen that
so.
edit,
It
Xapo?
that thing is like that was what I think really showed me, like, oh, I'm
I
downloading
think
Twixter, I'm downloading Twitch, I'm downloading all these fucking
I
plugins.
think that Evangelion edit that is like just Twix and everything. I think that still holds up to the day because the
No, it
Twix is
does.
so flawless.
It does, bro.
It
It was
yeah,
like,
it
it felt
does.
4K. It was 60
It,
FPS. He
yeah,
basically pushed the norm or the idea of 4K FPS or 4K 60
60
FPS anime
FPS.
clips on YouTube. Even though
Mm.
those look like shit, but he made it look good because of the way that he did it. So I think people thought that if you just did the same thing, it would.
It, it's like he had
Yeah.
Topaz AI gigapixel before it came out. Like he had like the early access to it, and
Yeah.
it's really cool. Zapper, have you seen it? The Evangelion edit that's like Twix and
I
stuff.
think it's
No, I guess.
Nomius or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's a
it's super
very
iconic.
very good. I can definitely like send it to you.
I
But
can't look. Hold it. We actually have a little bit of an announcement, and I'm proud to say that we are sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare, if you don't know, but I'm pretty sure everyone and their mom knows what Skillshare is, basically just a company where you can learn anything you want. You sign up once a month and you get access to a bunch of classes all over the world that are really helpful. And I'm pretty amped about this because, as you know, with our podcast, we talk about film and animation and editing and 3D stuff. And if you sign up with Skillshare, there are plenty of courses on how to do 3D modeling, filmmaking, whatever you want to learn when it comes to 3D, you pretty much got it there. I wasn't even asked to do a sponsored segment for this, but I felt like I should do one anyways, just so you guys could know. And in the description of this video, you guys can actually find a code to get 30% off your first month of Skillshare. I'm really excited about this, guys. I hope you are too. Now, back to the episode.
and now if anything happens, I even during mid project I can still like go back and eat and work on it. So yeah, there's
This had happened to me once. Like I was trying to render this edit, and After Effects was just crashing and crashing. So I had to like download another version and like use render it through it.
yeah, man.
Do they
Yeah.
have render?
So
After
Do
After
they have?
Effects is very unexpected soft.
It is. It's just unexpected all the time. I was actually mad about DaVinci a little while ago because of the fact that it kept fucking up the render for the podcast yesterday.
Mhm.
Do
they
I?
do have random glitches. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
DaVinci
but
is good, but it's not like a
I
perfect
didn't
programmer.
understand why that was happening, and it still happened. By the way, there's like a tiny glitch now. It's not like anymore. It's like one little glitch, and then I think there's one towards the end of the intro, and I was like, all right, I'm leaving it. Whatever.
It's fine.
It was just the intro, and I didn't know why.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'm gonna finish this up quick. Where was I at? It was
you mentioned I mean, was it the cast the E part or was it?
Oh,
Oh
I
no,
think it
you're
was
you're
3D
talking
stuff. I
you were
think
talking about plugins, and then you got to the point where you were like
After Effects
you were
3D.
like doing yeah After Effects 3D with the PNG stuff. So that's where
Yeah,
you
I think
left it off.
and eventually Element 3D came up. I think I started making animations inside of Cinema 4D at the time because that was the only 3D program that was good at that moment. Blender, I don't even think 2.79 was it came out, like the good
Probably
version.
not.
Because I started when I knew it was good, but
What year did you start doing the Cinema 4D stuff?
2018 or 2019.
Yeah, I think Blender at the time was still at its like
It was at its
like
infancy. It was at
yeah
it.
it was at its like meh stage, and then when 7.9 I think got released, it became like good.
Yeah,
And
that I looked up like the most oldest version of Blender, and for some reason it just said 2.79. I was like, what? I'm
no,
like, this isn't the oldest, and there was like, this is the best
that's
version that came out at the time. I
it.
was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the oldest version. Like for like the UI overhaul before it, But
Yeah,
anything older than that was it's like a completely different program, basically.
yeah,
You know.
but yeah, basically I made a couple edits, doing 3D stuff. I think I added a character in a couple AMV stuff, and then I remember I made a full-on live-action CGI thing with Cinema 4D where I 3D tracked like clips on my phone that I recorded in the house, and I added like a character in Cinema 4D, and I learned how to do like particle disintegration stuff immediately.
Oh
Because
yeah.
that was like the easiest thing to do in Cinema 4D. Like I don't remember what it's called. I think it's destroy or something. It's like a
Yeah, there's like
modifier.
a
It
yeah,
just
I know.
kind
It's
of
like a shattering thing, kind of.
yeah, there is, and it just explodes the character. Like I don't know into
Yeah,
pieces.
they still have that, but no one really uses that because they're
It's kind of
better
bad.
options.
It doesn't look good. But it was the first
There's
time
a
I
deformer called Explosion in C4D, like for the same stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's what
but
I
I
it's
feel like
actually
like
clicked.
there's a similar one in Blender as well.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
there
work
is,
the
but
same
it's
way
like
though. Like there's a
yeah,
lot more work to do something like that in
Hmm.
Blender or to set that up. Whereas
yeah.
Cinema
Now people
4D, I
use
clicked like
like
one button and my character was like blowing up from like one part and then kind of gradually went and I was like, "Oh, this is easy."
yeah. People now use like plugins or Voronoi fracturing kind of stuff because that's like a bit
Hmm.
more realistic-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, but how did you like feel when you made that effect and it like for you for like I'm pretty
For
sure
the
when you
first
saw it at first
time,
you were like
I was hyped as fuck. I remember
yeah
I downloaded Maya, I downloaded 3ds Max. I was going off on like all the programs.
oh
I
yeah
remember
yeah
I downloaded like something called like Jenga. I think it was Jenga Effect. I don't remember what it was, but it gave Maya like a bunch of like simulation parameters like explosions, water,
Hmm.
coffee. Like they had like icons for that. I
but
remember I tried
Jenga
to
effects is Embergen basically or Liquidgen and
I
all that.
think so. I don't remember what I might be saying it wrong because it was a long time ago, but it was just some plugin that I spent money on for a cracked version of Maya. um,
Yeah, it was a there was a phase where just like I have to learn every 3D program, I have to download all the
yeah, and
programs.
then I got annoyed after though because Jenga
Yeah,
took or Maya took too long to simulate the explosion I wanted. It was too hard to figure out how to do explosions, and then I was like, fuck it, never mind. Went back to AMVs. We're kind of at the point where I'm here now, but obviously then I started going to college. I think I dropped out of college 2 weeks before COVID happened, and that's when I got the job with Jimmy to go out to uh, LA to work on the Yu-Gi-Oh project, which now we're basically at the point I'm here now. I worked on that. That's where
yeah.
it was my first full on 3D project where I actually had to work on 3D from like start to finish, modeling, texturing, animation for a job. It was my first thing ever. And I'm like the sole person in charge of that. So like a lot of the shots, like almost 70% of them were made by me. And that took 10 months. So that jump started a lot of my Blender workflow stuff. Um, and then yeah, that happened. I started getting contacts with like Reanime because I met them through Jimmy. Um, Other people in the space in LA.
And that's how
Uh,
eventually how you grow like your connections with these other people and
yeah,
Yeah.
that was how I got them was because I met them in person. Like because Jimmy was
Hmm.
there. Like I remember Jimmy I think just randomly texted JLX Rosa like, "Hey, follow my editor," and he followed me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Okay.
yeah.
So like, I
So
got connections through that, but I did have a question though for Xapo because you said we talked more because of Gabe. Do you remember what it was
Yeah.
for that we started talking to him?
Uh, yeah. I mean, Gabe reached out to me for one of his videos. Like he wanted uh, like a motion graphics intro
Mm.
and some titles and like captions on the video itself. But we couldn't agree on a price, and that's when like I stalked his profile.
You stalked his profile.
Yeah, and then eventually like Jimmy, I saw your name somewhere like in one of his posts. It was like a Naruto live action like VFX shot or something like that.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and then I like dropped a follow on Instagram, I guess.
I didn't know it was that recent. I know Alex has a little bit more, I think of I guess a history of.
I worked with him like
No,
not that much, but
not
I
with Jimmy. I meant in terms of uh, knowing who I was, but
yeah,
through. I'm trying to remember
I
because if it
know
was Gabe, if you looked at Gabe's profile, I made him an intro for his show that he was doing that I told him, I was like, hey, I'm gonna make you a really good intro that you have to reuse if you do this show. Because I tried to make it a point to them, bro. I'm gonna get off topic. We can skip that. You
It's
can go,
fine.
Alex.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask like because you're into like the motion design space, Xapo, what kind of
Mhm.
like projects do you plan to do? What kind of clients or new opportunities do you hope to like receive or and what makes you pick motion design apart from something like character animation or VFX, and why is it motion design? I mean, everyone has their reasons and why they find this the coolest or the most
Yeah.
interesting role.
So, right from the beginning, like when I started editing, I was always like interested by all the visual stuff. Like for most people, like that's why they like pick up art as a hobby. It was me,
Lightsabers.
as well. Yeah. So, like I said, I came across this edit on Instagram, and I was like really, really impressed, and I was really inspired by it. And it was my private account actually back then, the Xapo visuals which I currently have. It was a private account, and then I changed the name to like Xapo AMVs,
Yeah,
and
something like
that's
that. I
when,
remember. I think.
yeah,
Or
Xapo AMVs, and
yeah.
that's when I started like editing videos. Like, so my first edit was a Demon Slayer edit. I still have that on my page. Like, like
Yes.
Yes, let's
yeah.
go.
Even now, when I look back at it, I was like, shit.
Bro,
Shit,
I
man.
was
sometimes the old ones hit different though. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
it's
was so proud of it at that
it,
time.
it hits.
Nah, because sometimes they were good. Like it wasn't even like a nostalgic only thing. Like I remember looking back at some of
Mhm.
them and I'm like, damn, I was good with After Effects back then.
Yeah,
Or I was
Yeah.
I
okay.
think when
So
you
back then I was editing like I was posting like 3 videos a week because I was just starting out. I was just trying stuff.
three.
Then I made like try to edit some Iron Man, Iron Man like movie shots. Tried to
Yeah.
make an Iron Man edit, and that's when I got to know about this. Like there are like AMV communities, AMV units that I can like
Oh
apply.
yeah. What's your
Yeah,
first AMV group that you've joined? What's the name? Or
it was Flow Unit, I guess.
Flooded? Damn.
A
How about
Yeah.
Flow
you, Josh?
Unit.
What
It
was
was
your...
Flow Unit.
Well, I mean, I had my own group, but
Oh, so you
I
made one before you entered one,
yeah,
basically.
I was like I didn't make it, but I was also like the guy who basically ran it for Moon. Only like
Right.
a few people are gonna really know what that is, and because it was very small, it was just like us, like close friends. Those are the guys I keep up with most of the time
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I've known them since the beginning. And then I think it
The
went
first,
to Knob. No, I've been in a lot. There's Wave, Nobby. Eventually, Law was the last one I joined. Do you guys
the
remember
biggest.
Law?
Yeah,
Please tell me
everyone
you
knows
remember.
Law. I
Okay,
mean, that's like an
thank
OG kind of.
God. I was gonna say I'm so old.
No, no. I mean, to be
Law
honest,
AMVs too. That
honestly, I will say if you were at from Law at some point, any point, you would be considered a boomer because like it is an
Yeah,
old
like
group.
Law and Aztec are like the two like if
Yeah.
you were in
Oh,
those
hashtag bro.
you're basically a boomer. But I didn't keep up with groups after that
Yeah.
cuz I felt like I remember for a long time when groups were like mainly a thing, especially with Law and Aztec, I was striving to get into one or one of those two, like
Yeah.
Aztec or Law. So I tried since the beginning my After Effects journey to get into those groups. And I think once I got into Law, I made my best edits and then I stopped trying. So I was like, I got into the group I always wanted to get into. I'm done. Like AMV
Mhm.
wise, I like
Yeah.
accomplished my goal. I felt like I won like something.
Yeah. I mean, okay, my first, I'm not sure if you guys know it because it was a really small group, but there is a group called Command,
I
and
don't know. I don't know any new
they,
groups, by
they,
the way. Anything past Law that came out
yeah, yeah,
after
yeah,
Law,
but
I do not know.
this,
I remember. Like I've
yeah,
seen the logo
this,
in your
this
edits.
group was especially, it's not only my first group, but
Mhm.
it's the group where I met most of the editors you might know until now because they were all there. Some of them were big, some of them were not. There was like Citrix. You had like people like you guys know the what his name, what the hell was his name? 'Cause he keeps changing his name, but you know the one who you know the old group called Ego.
Yeah, ego,
Yeah,
ego. I mean, his name
the
was
leader.
Ego dot Shota.
So his name was, you guys know Sekrion, right? Sek
Yeah,
Sekrion
yeah, yeah, yeah,
or
yeah. Yeah, Secure.
he was in that same group that I joined. There's a bunch of editors. I would name them, but you might not recognize them. But there's like a bunch of other editors that were in that group. There's also like Shota was there as well. You had Shota, was Shota there? I actually don't remember. Uh, I don't know, but there was Citrix was there. That's where I met Citrix, and that's where I actually it was the first group, and eventually from there I guess that's what got me a following because the people they were already like bigger editors, and they shared my post, and eventually that helped me like grown like a few thousand in like a year,
Yeah,
or yeah, like a
same
year.
with Law.
So
I think I got like 4,000 followers after I joined Law, like a month after.
yeah, groups are helpful to like sort of just share attraction and
Mm-hmm.
engage with the community, but
Yeah,
most editors right now, like the biggest ones are like more solo,
Yeah.
I would
So
say
like
that, but also that's kind of hard. I feel like midwinter editors get like mad just views, but they
yeah, they
also are
do. I
sharing
mean,
around a lot. And then
me
also, what's that group
me
that Accents is in? Occurs?
I don't know.
Akura? I don't
I
remember.
don't know. But OVN and Midwinter were groups that I used to be in as well. And they were big at the time, but they're like much bigger now. They were
Yeah.
like maybe,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, like 13, 15, 20K or something like that. Right now they're like almost at the hundreds or are at the 100,000. But back then, even, when they repost my edit, and they get a lot more views in my account than what I get on my account. But it does help with like attraction because like whenever they
Yeah.
post, and they get
You would get
notifications,
recognized. Yeah.
follow. Yeah, like your post and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but now like my followers will basically come from just like hashtags or other artists sharing my work
Mm-hmm.
because I mean because I don't do AMVs anymore. My followers have been like at like a standstill. So it's just like
Mine have just
yeah,
dropped, bro. I don't know what happened. Is it? I think it's because I don't post a lot, but also like the people who follow me now
yeah.
have been a lot more 3D oriented people or
It's
AMV editors who are into 3D. So they'll
Mm-hmm.
it's
it
basically
turned into a
shifting.
niche more, you know.
Yeah, it's basically because like for me, I'm getting unfollowed by a bunch of like anime people, but then I'm getting followed by people who are doing more 3D stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
sort of shifting, and maybe I don't know. Eventually,
The audience. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
the audience is shifting. So yeah, I mean, we can end the topic here.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm gonna wrap this episode up, but we are gonna
yeah,
record another one, so stay tuned for that in 2 weeks. This was the third party podcast. I appreciate having Xapo on. Obviously, you'll see him again next week or 2 weeks from now. Sorry, getting the
yeah,
schedule mixed up. Obviously, thanks again, Alex and myself. I always thank
yeah.
myself. I have an ego.
Yes,
Let's go.
yes,
Always put yourself before others.
yes.
I'm the best. Fuck these two. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I love them. Nah, anyways, thank you
Yeah,
guys for watching this. This was fun. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have more guests on in the future too. Actually, I think the most of the episodes coming out in the next few months are gonna have guests.
yeah.
Anyways,
All right.
peace, guys. End of the
Yeah.
video.